I am, stand out. And so through it all, we were able to just, I had Mr. Lawson, I had mentors to lean on, I had my, just my peers to lean on and be able to, we were spending hours drafting essays and looking at schools and seeing what schools fit our personality. And lo and behold, actually, the school that I went to, Bucknell University, Mr. Lawson sat me down because, for my ACT score, he said, Tweety, I think this school would be perfect for you. They're good in engineering, they're good in computer science, and like this, the personality of the school might just be for you. They have research, they have all these things. And so I sat down, and at first, me, I wanted to go to Stanford. I'm sure some of you want to go to Stanford and MIT and all these schools, and just having to reconcile, like, okay, but Bucknell, what about Bucknell? And with further research, I started to really fall in love with the school. I was like, wow, the culture might just be for me. And long story short, we applied and I was able to get in. And so then, Mr. Lawson, I don't know if you want me to speak about my time at Bucknell or if I've talked too much already.
You can say, I mean, the
Yeah.
key things. I mean, typically when you're going to school at first, it's really hard to adjust. Of course, people want to go to Stanford. Some people want to go to Harvard. I remember your time. There were quite a number of students in your cohorts that were going to different schools, Harvard and the Dukes and all of that, and were a bit disappointed. I remember that. So I will probably want to talk briefly about maybe your how you felt. I mean, your first time in Bucknell,
Yes.
how you felt about it. Were you kind of convinced that okay, this was the place when you arrived there? How was it like? Just briefly.
That's such a good question. Um, so like, to be honest, like at first when I was like, again, and I wanted, like, in hindsight, I was, like Mr. Lawson knows, like one of my really close friends was actually getting into Harvard. And I think it's the idea that, like, the story that he sold, the narrative that we have to go to the best schools. And 100%, I say, let's go, let's dominate, let's go to these amazing schools. But also realizing that I think there's a reason for whichever schools you go to and which ones you get into. And so for me, as I was going, I was like, I was actually Googling and I was telling Miss Lawson, this school is in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Like, where is this school? It's not in a city. It's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. Like, it's like it experiences harsh winters. So I Googled like the winter in Bucknell and I tried to be as much, prepared as much as possible. But even then, I still wasn't prepared. But with that, just having like one thing that really stood out to me for the school that I was joining was even before I joined. Again, guys, mind you, this is also during COVID. Can I just highlight that we went through COVID? And I actually had to take a semester here. But even through that, like before I joined, we had a couple of webinars just like this, having students, current students speak, having the international office, because we have an international students office at Bucknell, and also other universities have the same, just come on and speak and encourage us and welcome us. And it was so friendly and so warm. And I was like, maybe this is where I'm meant to be. And I just felt like for the first time, like really like the questions that were being asked, you could tell they were very inclusive. You could tell that they actually genuinely cared about my journey and my story from Kenya. And I think that to me meant everything. And I was like, I think this is a place for me. So that's like the moment that I realized, okay, I think I might end up liking Bucknell. But of course, with that, COVID was very just challenging. So the classes at that time, this was 2020, I think fall, September to December. And I did not have a visa. I did not get a student visa just yet. And I had put it in place, but I had to face the fact that, okay, I'm going to have to do my first semester like online. Mind you, everyone talks about the first semester being so formative of, you're making friends and, meeting professors and just really creating a name for yourself. And so for me, being there, being home, and everyone is at school, regardless they're socially distanced, but they're still in close proximity, was very hard for me. But, and mind you, my classes began at 4 p.m. and ended at 2 a.m. So it was just really a time of testing. And this is the moment that I asked, how bad do I want this? And this is what I'm saying. Don't ever compare your journey to someone else's. I think you need to stay true to your journey. If you're on this line, just keep that in mind. Like your journey will be very different from everyone else. And so you get to define your journey. And so what ended up happening was, um, I would like hop on and classes would end up late. But with that, I became so close with the professors for my first year because they were like very concerned. They were like, Kituti, you're online. Can we meet for office hours? Now, office hours is something that I think a lot of schools have, is where a teacher sections a time, maybe 1 or 2 hours, and students are able to actually come into the office or even just hop online and ask questions and get to learn more and get to, ask questions about homework, and get to really know the professor. Now, this was so different for me because it was challenging because I don't know if you guys know, but like the high schools that we have, we don't really get to ask questions. We don't really get to, I mean, I came from a place where if I didn't know something, I would rather die trying to find the answers by myself than ask. So for me, it was just very hard to say, actually, I don't know. I don't understand. I need more help. And I think that semester really broke it down for me by getting to know the professors personally and their personal stories and being able to be like, actually, I didn't, when you talked about this in class, I didn't quite understand. Again, because one, the systems are very, very, very different in math and in everything else. And so one being the system is very different and struggling to ask was really challenging. But I think having that, just that having that position to be able to be like, can I actually ask you a couple of questions in office hours and really learn more, really change the narrative for me. And so coming in, I came in winter. So I came and it was very cold and I'd never seen snow and I'd never touched snow, but we were in it and there was no turning back. And at this specific time, I think I remember telling Mr. Lawson, I got a partial scholarship, but because of my first semester's performance, I was able to and early on apply and be like, I would love to apply for full scholarship because I think that my performance is just going to keep getting better. Of course, I was saying this out of faith, but again, take advantage of every opportunity. And so with that, they considered me, and I got news that I just received a full scholarship for my whole time at Bucknell. And so I'm present. It's winter. I don't have any new friends just yet. And orientation was coming up. And so with that, we had an international students orientation, which I actually met my closest friends and up to today. So now it's been good 5 years of friendship, but we were able to just go through the process together, go through the motions together of coming from different countries and different cultures and speaking different languages, but being in the same process and knowing that we have each other's backs. Okay. And so through that, I was able to even see some of them like in my classes. I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of international students end up doing engineering. I don't know why. Maybe because it's promising. But we were able to just really, like link arms together and take classes together and do homework together and like spend a lot of time, going to, befriend professors. So that was my next biggest point, is befriend your professors if you can, when you can. They're there for you, they're there to help you succeed. And I think I took too long before I realized that that's an asset. So yeah. Should I should I keep going? Um,
I know you've had lots of experience
yeah.
with that in your first year. I want to ask a question on the racial thing. I know I've had so many questions about race, whether they are racist, whether you are I mean you are in Kentucky, down south, wherever you are.
Yeah.
People get worried even at the location whether they will be treated in a certain way. What was your experience in that briefly?
Yeah, wow. Those are really good questions. So to be honest, if I'm being honest with you guys, Bucknell is a very, we call it a PWI, which is a privileged white institution. So that means the makeup of the school entirely is mostly white students, whose parents are in the top 1 earning % of the United States of America. That means it's a very privileged and very white institution. And that also means that the students who are coming here are mostly legacy students, so whose parents have been here, whose grandparents have been here. And with that, we have a very, very small number. So the ratio of my program, which is computer science and engineering, was, I think I was the only Black and female student. So it was 1 to 20 when we began. So yeah. So it was very difficult. Like in my classes, I looked around, there was no other girl, there was no other it was, I think we started with one girl initially and she ended up like switching majors, but it was just me and like other guys. And I would say that of course there were other like, like black students and brown students in the school. That's true. But I think in just my program, it was very, very limited. And I think for me at first, I was like, what is happening? Like, like are there other students? Is this like a joke? But I was just like, no, like you got into the program, you qualified for the program. And I think for me, imposter syndrome was so real. Like I've never been, I felt like Alliance Girls was imposter syndrome, but this one was a different level of imposter syndrome in the sense of not only are you, coming from, like I had an accent. I feel like even my accent has changed. I think you all can tell, but I had an accent and I'm from literally Kenya and I'm black as well. So it was just like all these things that people were like, oh my God, like you won't survive. Really. I had even some professors be like, I think you should shift. I think you should change your major. I had friends be like, "Oh, Tweety, I don't know if this is worth you fighting for." But I knew again what I wanted. I knew that I didn't just want computer science by itself. I knew I wanted the aspect of building hardware. I love building hardware, and so I was like, no, I've qualified for this. And I think that a number of us tend to disqualify ourselves even before we've tried. And so for me, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick to it. And if anything says otherwise, if my grades are still on track, then I'm gonna do it. And so the race aspect, I've had some crazy. Let me give you a specific story, Mr. Lawson, if you'll allow. Um, but speaking of like,
Sure.
yeah, yeah. So the reason why I share this story is just so you guys can see the challenges, but also how to overcome. So specifically in this was crazy, but in my second year of college, we okay, usually as you know, like in the United States, it's very interactive. Learning is very practical, I think, if you know. And so there was one time that I was in a, so we used to get group projects, right? And we used to have to sometimes like the professor, so at first they used to like let us choose partners, but later on the professors would end up choosing for us our partners, which I think is much better. And so with time, we got this project. It was, I think, the final project of our semester. It's a big project. It took up, I think, about 50% of our grades. And this was a class called AI and ethics, something that I actually want to go do my master's in later in life. And so this was a very important class to me. And so we got divided into groups, and I was in a group, of course, with three other guys at this time. And I had been working hard, guys, like working hard. And we were supposed to each take roles. So I really wanted a Scrum Master. So if for those of you who don't know what Scrum Master is, you deal with the client and you also get to really be a developer. So that was my dream. That's what I do today. And so basically, in the midst of the this project, we would like have meetings, and sometimes my teammates would not tell me at all when these meetings would happen. And even if I got to find out and I'm in the meetings, they would assign me to be secretary, so literally taking the notes and not even being part of the decision making, not doing anything. And so moment from time to time I had to literally stand up and be like, guys, like I think that I'm well capable. I can do this. And so in moments when they were like, okay, fine, and they would give me some chunks of places to code, and I would like put my code and run it, and it was working. But from time to time, I would come back and see my code has been erased or changed. So the problem with this is the professor would come back and look at the logs and say, okay, Tweety has done this and this amount, and so she would grade that. But for these moments when my code was being erased, I would get 0%. And this would frustrate me to levels I've never been frustrated. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, and I think those moments I would like realize, okay, Tweety, you came here and you have fought so hard to get here. There's no way you're gonna quit now. And again, when I go back to becoming friends with your professors, because they do understand you. And so I would go to my professor and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but this, and I would, of course, carry proof, okay? Because I like, this is the code I did. I don't see it on the page. You know what I mean? And almost having a conversation and being like, what should I do? And my professor at that time was like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give you your own project. And I was like, what? A project for 4 people? I'm supposed to do one person? I don't know. And they were like, yeah. So, and I was like, you know what, Tweety, this is the best option. You're gonna do the project, you're gonna finish it, and you're gonna get your own grades. And at that time, guys, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So I just like would spend so much time on this project because it almost felt like I had to prove myself. But at the end of the day, I think I realized I was actually doing this for myself. So with that, I ended up doing the project, and um these guys, like, I ended up getting an A, which was amazing and I'm very grateful for. But it was a very tedious time because I was like, why did I have to do this by myself? But after that, the professor actually, ended up talking to my teammates and ended up giving them different grades, and ended up like they had to go through training, culture training and all these things, and having conversations with people. But when I tell you that this worked for my good, because this this project ended up giving me an award at the end of my college year as best in engineering. So I'm saying at the end of the day, things do work out, but in that moment I was struggling. And but, as I said, I see a question. Yes, I'm so excited. Okay. Did you ever get homesick? How would you deal with this while still trying to push hard on so many fronts? Man, homesickness, yes. The answer is yes. I don't think that, you can ever go to a new place, a new space, and not be homesick. And so for me, homesickness looked very different. So I've been in boarding school since I was 11 years old, but I always was within the country. But I think homesickness for me this time looked very different because I can't just, call mom and dad and go home. Like, I had to book a flight like 3 months in advance on like no paycheck. But I, in the midst of homesickness, I won't lie to you, my story was very specific. And I'm going to give you practical tips. This might be too practical, but I would actually section time to call my parents. Like, it was the right, when I get up, I would like call my family, call my siblings, and just have like a small like hello, even if I'm like walking to class, even if I'm rushing to class. And right before I go to bed, I would send messages. Homesickness then, after some time, it became so much better because I started really getting friends. And if I want to be honest, my friends right now have become family. Um, and to the point that even for like, we'd have breaks in school, so we'd have summer break and spring break and Thanksgiving break. Thanksgiving is big on family, and people would go home and eat food. My friends and I would cook and hang out together and do life together, so they became some form of family. But I do want to say homesickness will always be there, but I think it's realizing that once you make the decision to go study abroad, that home just doesn't become a specific place, it becomes a people. And yes, you're going to miss your home and your people, but you also end up getting new people, right? And so just trying to make that work and trying to stay in contact with people. And then maybe one final thing is, my sophomore year as well, I also got a family. So there was a couple, and they lived like right outside Bucknell, and they became, I'm not even lying to you guys, like they became my family. They like came back with me to Kenya after graduation. When my parents came when I graduated last year, they stayed at, this couple's house. And even till today, like, I'm their son's godmother. So I'm just saying that homesickness will be there, but I'm saying that I know, because all of you are amazing, amazing students, and you will make it through, that you will find people who become family to you.
All right, Chiti, that's wonderful. That's been great. I think we'll move to the next session. If you have any questions, to put it up there, and we'll try and respond to it as best as we can. Um, the next one, we want to move shift our attention to internships. We talked a bit about networking and visa strategies.
Mhm.
Want to know how the practical steps you took to build your resume whilst you're in school, of course, during the school time and also your breaks. How did you secure your first internship? Which typically is in your second year, I suppose.
Yep.
And what leadership roles did you take on whilst you were in college? And recruiting tips. I know there are some of you who are already
Yeah.
um, in the US and you are kind of looking at how to build your resume. Those who are about to embark on this journey, I'm sure this is going to be the key thing. So your resumes, how do you go through your interviews and communication? And also, how do you navigate your OPT and CPT timelines and visa sponsorships? if there was any, or if you had any of your friends go through it. So that will be a next part of it. If you can tackle that within a 15 minutes or so, that'll be.
Absolutely, even less. Sorry, guys, I can chat. Mr. Lawson knows that. But if you do have questions
Yeah,
as I
no.
talk, just shoot them in. So quickly, what I did was in my time there, I was a leader of international student services. So I was like the one who helped plan the programming for international students. The second thing, I was also the vice chair lady for National Society of Black Engineers. I don't know for some of you who know that, but that is such a resourceful tool. Guys, if you go to any major, or if you do decide to join any major, they do have a society in your university. So make sure you join it because there will be conferences. Okay. And with conferences, there's always networking. So I actually took this down just because I think this is very important. A few things that I think that I did that I utilized my on campus situation was I did research. Find a professor, find what they're doing. So your prime time in your first year, begin early, is find out what professors are working on. And the second thing is see, do I actually want to do this research? Then do that research in the first summer. And then from there, ask the professors to connect you because again, professors are very connected to alumni. That's one that who could help you connect you to your internship. And so that's how I got connected. So from my professor, I was able to get connected with an alumni who was like, hey, you would be perfect in ed tech. And so I worked for a company called Elucian. So with that, that was just a straight way into my first internship. I had like no experience with educational tech before. The second thing that I want to really, really highlight from this is every school, every space has what they call like a career services office. So I would honestly, guys, I'm not even kidding. I would draft my resume. You guys are in the age of ChatGPT. You can toss your resume in ChatGPT and tell them, "Hey, could you improve my resume?" And from that too, I would take it to career services and be like, "This is what I want to do. This is the roles I'm looking for. Could you help me?" And they would actually edit it. They would help me. They would even send me some internships to apply for. And the final thing, I really utilize LinkedIn. So I know a lot of schools in the US currently have what they call like LinkedIn Premium. So you can take certifications, you can take classes. So I went straight ahead to taking data science classes. I went into taking Python certifications. So, guys, all I'm saying is for your resume, find all avenues to always keep improving. Send it to Mr. Lawson, let him take a look at it. Like send it to your friends, send it to your professors, send it to career services. That's what I did. And I always kept improving it. I did a project, I was quick to do that. Again, this is something, if you're going into STEM, this is for STEM students, you will do projects. Just like the project that I mentioned, build a portfolio. I have a website literally with my portfolio of like the projects I've done. I've put it on LinkedIn. I have a GitHub because at the end of the day, people don't want, it's not all talk. It's about, can she do the work? Yes, she can talk, but can she do the work? Can he do the work? So again, portfolio, LinkedIn, apply early, start speaking early. A good thing for networking, I've told you, I've mentioned conferences. Always be ready to go for conferences. There will be conferences throughout the year. A big set of advice, very practical. Know your elevator speech. All I did was master my story and find very interesting things that I highlighted about my character. So this is funny. I don't know if you guys will think this is crazy, but can you imagine for each job that I applied to, I catered a specific resume based on what they were looking for. So if they're saying, hey, we're looking for someone who's a critical thinker, someone who loves to learn, someone who maybe has this specific skills, I would cater my resume to that. And I would actually prepare an elevator speech for each and every like interview. And so I'd go to this conference and I would speak and and then I would have follow up interviews after that. And so no one will tell you this, but I'm telling you, this is going to save you so much time and make you stand out. Another final thing, if I could be very, very specific, is guys, and I'm being so real. Once you've been interviewed by someone, once you get even the opportunity to get an interview, send a thank you email. Say, hey, thank you so much for making time. Like literally appreciate, show them your interest, show them you're appreciating. Like literally make it be like, Also, I wouldn't say apply from a point of lack, which I know you don't have an internship or anything, but I'm saying apply from a point of this is why I would add value to your company, right? So that's what I did. I even for the current job that I got today through networking, I said, this is how I would add value to your company. And this is how I think your company could add value to my journey. And literally they and I had very specific questions like I would get three questions that would make me stand out. One about the company culture, even if it's for research, these questions will apply with any new place you're going to. Ask about the culture that they embody, ask something specific to the role you're going to do. So maybe if it's KPIs, if it's the goals they have, and then ask them, what is something that you're currently missing in your team or something like that? And I would ask that. And literally, they would always be like, oh my gosh, like you stood out. Like from those questions, we can tell that we can walk with you. So if I missed anything, please let me know. I think that's it. Or if you have questions, sorry, let me check the chat. Maybe. What are the challenges that you have faced before? Angong, is this specific to internships or is it specific to my journey in college? I just wanted to clarify. Um, but as maybe, yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
All right, good, good. I think I don't know whether you highlighted this in terms of leadership roles in college. Was that a very important thing for you in terms of when you were planning to do your internships and all of that? How important was leadership roles whilst you were in campus? I think that was a part I wanted you to highlight a bit on that. I don't think I heard much about that.
Absolutely. That's so good. Thank you for bringing me back. So basically in college, leadership roles, the answer to your question is yes. They're very important. And why? Because having a leadership role in whatever, so for example, like because in my field, I was like the vice president of like NSB, which is National Society of Black Engineers. That and also we had something called ACM, which is um, it was Associate Computing Machinery Team. It was just like a whole like computer science like field, and being even just a spokesperson for that literally brought me into spaces that I could never imagined. So I was ending up like meeting like senators from like different like other colleges, and we would like, so we were called senators basically, and we would talk about like our experiences. We'd talk about what everyone is doing, what is current. We talk about what are the specific skills that we need to learn. But even that, I'm not even kidding, professors would get messages from from companies, let's say Google and the big companies, and say, hey, we're looking for two people to fill this role, do you have anybody? And the first thing is they would be like, oh, I'll speak to the vice chair lady, or I'll speak to the senator, and then they can, they can advertise this role. And because I'm getting the first hand information, I would end up like applying first, or I would end up like even like just being able to speak to that alumni and telling them my journey and my story. So leadership roles are so critical, not just because that you're getting fast hand information and you're getting connections, but also because you grow a lot. Okay, so again, you can be the best programmer, you can be the best engineer, you can be the best doctor, but if you don't have communication skills and soft skills, then you are not going anywhere. So my thing is, as you go into college, as you are in college, plan to, again, join one. It doesn't even have to be multiple, again, know your boundaries, but join one space and really learn and take and desire to lead, because you're going to learn how to be a leader, you're going to learn how to problem solve, you're going to learn how to plan, you're going to learn how to be organized. Like, they want to see someone who is open to learning and open to growth and who shows versatility. So yeah. um
Yeah, there are
other
some a few questions there, so you can pick them up.
Great.
There's a
Okay.
question on what resume, which website you can use to edit your resume. I know you
Oh,
mentioned ChatGPT.
yes.
Um,
Um,
I don't get the question on your journey in college. It's a bit broad. So if that question could come again, I think that would help a lot. And also there's what are the challenges that you had faced, which I think you've talked about already.
Mm.
But the one on the resume is like the ones that work for you. What website did you use and all of that. And then we are seeing how did you go out of your way to find opportunities on campus and off campus.
Mm.
Uh, so you say you were working at the International Students Office. Did you work
Yeah,
there? I'm not
I
sure.
did.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So you did, and what are the volunteer work and all of that? Can you validate for me whether doing STEM related majors make one qualify for a longer visa extension compared to non-STEM majors? So, I mean, these are obvious questions that I also had to ask in the next point in navigating your OPT and CPT timelines. I think it works into that. So I think you can pick up from the one on resumes. Was there any special website that people use?
Yeah, so basically, I don't know if you guys know Indeed as well. So there's a couple of websites. So from Indeed, I know at that time ChatGPT was not a thing. I do know LinkedIn specifically also has like a resume builder, and there's also some. I want to say that I have. I can also, guys, after this, I will personally send a few links to Mr. Lawson, that I used when I was in college just to build my resume and to review my resume. I think there's also one where they even have like advisors review your resume, and I think it's free. So I'll make sure to send those over. But yeah, your resume is such an asset. If you're able to get someone drawn in on your first, because it's just one page, then it's good to go. But I will make sure to send all this, and I'm hoping Mr. Lawson will share this out to you. But yeah, so yeah. So I think I used Indeed and LinkedIn. And then I also like had career services review a lot. So how did you find your way to opportunities on campus and off campus? You mentioned. Okay, yeah. So for international students office, I don't know if so. Part of my scholarship was actually I had to pick a job somewhere on campus. So I also worked on campus as I was also a student, as I was also leader. I know it sounds like a lot, but things fall in place eventually. But I ended up getting connected because I just saw how hard it was for international students to make community. And Mr. Lawson will tell you, I love community. I love people. And so I literally approached the director at that time, and I was like, hey, I would love to volunteer here. And so it started as a volunteer job, and then it ended up became a paying job where I would literally plan community building things, where I was actually being put in spaces to speak with the president of the university to advocate for some of the things that international students needed. I was planning the student orientation in August. And so this ended up becoming from a volunteer just wanting to build community to ended up becoming such a leadership position where I was just very in close proximity with a lot of people within the campus. So I would first say approach the person, see what you enjoy doing, or see where ask yourself, is this adding to my journey and my career? And then approach and begin asking questions, because you can always begin by volunteering. I think the first thing is show interest and don't be afraid to ask. How are you able to form amazing connections with professors? Guys, I literally asking them questions about themselves. I feel like professors are just humans, and I think we always put them on a pedestal, which we should, and we should be very respectful. But I think also just being able to um, show excellence. I think professors love students who put effort. And so if you're doing well in school, one, and then you're also like going to their office hours, you're doing your best foot forward in your school, but then you're asking them questions about their life, and they're getting to know more about you. This becomes connections that last for a lifetime. I still talk to my professors today. Like we became such good friends that I used to go for dinner at their houses. Like it was a fun time, and I hope that would be the same for all of you. So usually ask questions about themselves and just be good at your work, and aim for growth. I think be confident and be like, I actually don't know. Ask questions, and they will actually see that you're really trying to learn and you know, not just trying to breeze through the class. And then, can you validate for me whether doing STEM related majors? Yes. So Denzel, yes. Like if you do a STEM related major, you actually get your OPT you get a STEM extension for 2 years. So that means you have your OPT for 1 year, which is general for everyone, STEM and non-STEM. And then if you do STEM, you get a 2 year extension if you're not able to get your H-1B visa. So this is a timeline Mr. Lawson wanted me to really emphasize. So your CPT is only for your internships and you apply when you're in school. But your OPT is if you know you have a job or you know you have something, you apply for it and it stays for 1 year. If you're in STEM, it stays for 2 years. Within this 3 years, you're supposed to have gotten an H-1B visa, which is a lottery system and your company sponsors. So you need to be very careful as you're applying for internships. Ask yourself, does this company sponsor? Because usually, if you get called for an internship and you like it, they do often give you a return offer. So that's all I'm saying. So if you can get a company where you do an internship and they sponsor visas and they give you a return offer, you're good to go. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, Denzel, that's the answer to your question. And an H-1B visa, actually, once you get it, it stays for 5 years. And through that, your company, your current company, would then help you apply for a green card process. So I didn't get my H-1B visa this year, but I did get my STEM OPT, and my company has already started applying for me for my green card. So Elias, did I get a green card? No, not yet. So I'm still in the process. It just began this year and I'm still on my OPT. And next year, my company will apply for my H-1B visa again. Also, someone asked about do I have a car or did I have a car in campus? I honestly ended up getting a car my final year because it was very it just I needed to go to different cities, to different places. I love traveling, so it's not as expensive. But the first thing is, guys, also, this is a side note, but no one will tell you this. If you are able to get your driver's license when you come here, please strive for that because jobs also love people who have driver's license, so mobility. But yeah, I think those are all the questions. If yeah, did I mention everything enough, Mr. Lawson? Is that good?
Yeah. I think so. But could you? I know probably you kind of touched on it, but what's you said the CPT is when you are on campus,
Yes.
or yeah, okay, and
So
the
so
OPT is after.
yes, and OPT is after. So CPT is curricular practical training, and this is only for so only goes to F1 international students. So it's basically for you to gain practical work experience when you're still in school. So you can't use your CPT after you've graduated, and it's only part time. So let me be very specific. You can only in your CPT, which is your internship, you can only do it for 20 hours. That means your internship, you're working for 20 hours. This is just for you to add, like, to say you have an internship. And it only lasts for like a couple of months. So, really be very careful with this one. So, only apply when it's an internship that you think is absolutely worth it. Oh, also, guys, I forgot to tell you once you join college, for the first 9 months, you are not eligible to apply for an internship. So that's why I did research first, my first summer, because I was like, I can't be able to get an internship. But with research, I then got an internship the next year. But the difference between CPT and OPT, OPT allows you now to work after college. It gives you 40 hours. OPT, you have to apply with the immigration and you get something called an EAD card, which is employment authorization document. And that lasts for 1 year, so same time as OPT. And then when you apply for extension, you also get it for the length of time. So that's 2 years. And CPT is very easy to get. You don't need to apply with immigration. Immigration doesn't even need to know you have a CPT. You apply it with your International Student Services Office. Yeah, I see there's a message. Um, During a CPT, do you cover? That's a really good question. So the thing is, yes, you cover for your accommodation. So basically, at that time, I was working at a Lucian company, which was it's actually based in Pennsylvania, Malvern, PA, and the company covered for my housing, which I was very lucky. But some companies don't, so I have to pay. So they're paying you. It's like a salary, right? So basically, like a salary, and they pay you, and they expect you to cover housing, they expect you to cover food, they expect you to cover the rest. But some companies are so good. They will cover housing, they will cover transportation, they will cover even lunches at the office, which is amazing. So that's all I'm saying. Like my company right now, when I got this company, they paid what they call like a sign-on bonus, but they also pay like relocation stipend, which is like when you're moving, they pay for you to move. They also pay for like lunches, they pay for my housing for 1 month when I moved to the city. So you will find companies are very different, but yeah, they might be able to cover for your accommodation. But yeah.
All right, Tuti, I know the questions will keep coming, so
Yes.
let's move on to the third one. I know this is a big question on the U.S. immigration and the political landscape we are seeing here. I think
Yeah.
I've got so many questions from parents and students about this, so I think it's important for us to cover it for those interested in going to the U.S. So, how is the Trump era visa policies affecting the job hunting? For example, is it affecting it for some students because you already have a job? For that matter, what are you hearing from the community there, especially with Kenyans and Africans there? What has changed and what challenges remain? And especially because I know you kind of
Yeah.
you have had the Trump type of era twice already. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, the first one, second one, I think you've been
Yeah.
in both. What has changed and what challenges remain, of course, and what would be your practical advice on company sponsorships,
Mm,
H1B and timing strategies? I think you kind of mentioned that a bit as
yeah.
well. And then mental health and legal stress, coping as a foreign student. Do you find that a bit psychologically challenging
Mm,
when it comes to, being in the US, working as a student, and also like schooling as a student, all right, when it comes to all these mental health and
yeah.
legal, because we've heard a lot about that in some
Yeah.
campuses, on some campuses, and all of that. So
Yeah.
walk us through that part so that we kind of know how to tackle that in this era.
Absolutely. Yeah. These are very important questions, and I think very timely. So, with the new Trump administration, there's been so many changes and restrictions for international students, especially in the side of, again, I mean, you guys saw it with student visas, like him being like, we're not going to issue student visas anymore. But I know that is now back, I think, in place where they've begun to issue them again, which is very frustrating. I'm not going to lie, because like, like there's already such a small number of international students here, and even thinking that being less is already tough. And I want to speak directly, like I was speaking to Bucknell, actually, the incoming students, international students has been cut by 50%, just because some aren't able to get visas on time, or some are fearing to come to the US, just because of like, not, they're almost being like no hope, which I definitely understand. But with that, I do want to say that the OPT is in place. I know right now it's not decided fully if he's going to take it out, or if he's going to keep it on. But I do want to say that I'm still on the OPT, and in the event that it's taken away, I will have, I think they mentioned maybe 6 months before you have to relocate. So relocation looks like going to a different job location, outside of the United States, just because if you don't have your visa, then you cannot stay here, right? Because you're going to be like, you're going to be illegal here. And so it has brought a lot of stress. I'm not going to lie, like for me, the moments I'm like, am I going to even, like, you know what I mean? Like, what does it look like? It's just like there's so many unknowns. So my practical best advice is staying ahead, stay vigilant. Like, I've had conversations with my employers, and I'm like, what are the options for me? I've had conversations with the immigration officers, and being like, so say I don't get my H1B visa, what does it look like? Or if the OPT is scrapped, what does it look like? And even I think you guys need to start asking, okay, so if my, for example, if my child, if I'm a parent and they get a student visa but they're not able to get a job, what does it look like? I think the students who are currently in school begin to have active conversations with employers and ask, do you sponsor H1B visas? Do you guys have multiple locations for your company in different countries? Because you don't want to have a company that's only based in the US, because if anything happens, you will have to, go back. So I think like asking those questions, like, do you guys sponsor? Do you guys have funding? Because funding again has been cut. So even if you're thinking of, okay, maybe I get, maybe I don't get my H1B visa. Can I go to school? So funding for PhD has been cut currently, and I don't know when that's going to be returned. So that's a current big stressor for a lot of students today, because a lot of them want to go to higher education, doing, say, masters or say PhD, but there's no funding for that. And so I think the best option is finding good companies that sponsor, that will be okay with you, that will even maybe sponsor your higher education, right? If you're looking to go to higher education, or that are looking to move you to different locations. How have we handled, I think you mentioned visa related stress. I personally, or even forget visa related stress, I think even just being in the US related stress, I would say like if you are at a point where, because I know school and everything is stressful and life can be stressful, like be open to therapy. I know therapy is not as common in Kenya, but there is free therapy services in the universities. It's free. So maybe talking to people, and then outside, like when you're walking, like being able to set boundaries and know your priorities, I think is such a big thing that international students don't take seriously. Like having time sectioned out for yourself, really taking your time to relax. And because we're always go go go, and I know it's because we're always like, oh my gosh, like I need to be better, I need to be best. Again, don't strive for perfection, but strive for growth. And so know times when to rest, and know times when to actually, like take, like work hard. And I think if you don't have a good balance, then you will never fully be able to be productive. And then another thing is, don't compare your journey. I have friends right now who have their H1B visas. I'm not even gonna lie. Like we went through the process together. They got their H1B visas and I didn't. And I think it's a matter of me realizing, what is my plan, having a plan A, plan B, plan C. Like we all have to have that. So my plan A is getting my H1B visa. My plan B is moving locations. My plan C, you know what I mean, is maybe going back to school and asking my company to fund that. And so being very proactive in your journey. And like Mr. Lawson said at the beginning of this, is thinking, planning 4 or 5 years ahead always is the best. And again, you can never plan perfectly, but times will change and plans will change, but at least you have a vision. And then I'm looking at the final question. Yes, the US politics did affect job prospects. A lot of companies are now rescinding. I don't know what you guys do. You get, so rescinding is taking back offers. So they would offer you a full-time job, and now they're rescinding back their offers. So I do know it's very stressful right now, but what I would say is continue to apply. Like, don't ever stop applying. I even know some friends who have been at, in their job for 1 year, because we've been 1 year, and now they're shifting jobs. So it's always okay to keep applying and to keep improving, and to actually be like, in the event that, maybe this job might, there might be a layoff, right? Because of the job politics. I need to have connections on my LinkedIn where, in case of anything, I can jump to another option. So that's all I'm saying. And yeah, I don't know if I touched on everything that was important.
Yeah, I think I listen. I think you have. Um, if there are any questions on that, keep it coming, and we'll try and respond to that. But I want to move to the next one. But if you
Yep.
have any questions on the part of H1B, the Trump era issues and all of that, you can always bring it and try and respond to it. Let's move to the one. What you wish you knew
Wow.
in terms of your mistakes, insights, and and all of that. So missteps in university. Do you make any mistakes in the university, in college? You know, or even with your job search as well. How do you use your identity as a global student in your advantage if you're an international student? Do people use that to their advantage there? And what would you do differently if you had to start again? I mean,
Wow.
would you want to start again? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, a really good question. The mistakes I made, I must start with the mistakes. And if I were, so my mistakes, my biggest mistakes, I think I was very, very timid. I think like my first year, I wasn't very proactive in making connections, because I think I was just like, oh my gosh, like I think I was so focused on my studies, which is an amazing thing. And I think everyone should be. But I think I wasn't proactive in making connections. And so by the time I'm like in my second, third year, I'm like, I should have been making connections. I should have been on LinkedIn. I should have, I think I used to like say no to conferences my first year because I was like, it's, why are we going for 5 days? Like, why are we leaving school for 5 days? Like, it doesn't make sense. But again, like, I would say take time to prioritize connections. Again, like, prioritize like making good, solid friendships. Because at the end of the day, like, I was so focused on school, I started to feel isolated in college. And I was like, man, like, I'm homesick and then I don't have a good friend, basis. And I started to feel lonely. But my grades were amazing. You know what I mean? And then I think my sophomore year, I did the total opposite where, like, now I was making friends, I was going for all these connections, but I was missing a lot of classes. And I think that began to affect my grades. And so all I'm saying is balance. Know when to make friends and know when to, you know what I mean? And so I think having that balance is always the best thing. Something else that I would have wished that I knew earlier, guys, get a credit card early, build your credit score. This is, I made a mistake of applying for a credit card in my third year of college. And I think my mindset was, well, I don't have money. I don't make money. Even though I was working two jobs the whole year. It wasn't enough. It was just for my upkeep. But the thing with the credit card, it builds your credit score. And again, when you're graduating, you need a credit score to get into, you need a credit card to get a job. You need a credit card to apply for anything basically in the city, to be considered for an apartment. Wherever you're going to go, apply early for a credit card and build your credit score and be diligent. Another thing that I really regretted was, um, there were moments. So we would have a lot of speakers in house. So our college would bring like really big, amazing speakers, and we had like I had we and so I would like never fully attend these conversations, but from my friends, a couple of them would actually proactively attend them and actually get really amazing connections through that into maybe their jobs today. And so for me, I only started to take advantage of that. And my final year, I took this leadership course, and we had like the board of trustees. Like, I met like the board of trustees and was able to really get acclimated to, just being exposed to what leadership looks like, to what being an alumni looks like, to what, like, big connections out there, like the Goldman Sachs and the big companies. And through that, I was able to get so much, like, even till today, I'm still able to go for those meetups and still meet very powerful people and get connected. So all I'm saying is plan early, be vigilant, and yeah, like, really try to make good friends. Like, when you begin, get a good community, because it'll carry you throughout your whole life. Um, what's something I would have wish I would have done at the start of college? Yeah, aside from the from the credit card, I think oh yeah, and understand your body. So I saw Paul ask a really good question about eating well and exercising. I When I went to college, the food was so different in America that I felt like for maybe 1 2 months I was constantly sick. I think something important is understanding that, like, food is different and it's going to take time to adjust. But guys, pack some Kenyan food, pack some Kenyan spices, or whether it's Tanzanian spices, wherever you are. I wish that I was able to prioritize eating and exercising. So what I ended up doing is getting like an actual, like, I don't know how much you guys use Google Calendar, but I use it so much. Like, I would put my time to work out. Like, I would go to the gym in the morning and I'd plan my breakfast and I'd plan my lunch times. Like, I would actively section in those times in the midst of my classes. Um and I would try as much to follow that, just that plan. Like, guys, the moment that you start to eat and exercise well, the moment you become productive in every area of your life. I'm not lying to you. And so for me, I only realized that a little later, because I was like, oh, I have class I had lunchtime, and so I wouldn't eat lunch. And unfortunately, class was during at lunchtime for some classes, but I would like sleep in, and I would like not go to the gym, or maybe even plan the gym for the evening. Like, figure out what works for you. And something also that I also knew that I would have started, that I wish I would have known at the beginning of the college, is what type of a learner am I? So I would have friends who would go to class, not pay attention, but still get A's. You know what I mean? I would have friends who would go to class, pay attention, but after class, they're like out partying and drinking and all these things. And I'm like, and still get A's. And the difference was they knew what type of learner they were. And I only came to find that out a few, like way later than I should have. So I end up finding out that I'm the type of person, if I go to class, I need to pay attention. And even after class, I actually need to go through and read what the teacher, like what the professor actually talked about. And that's the way that actually that's the type of learner I am. I'm both a, like a visual, but I'm also like a very like practical learner. So that is my best advice. And I think that advice would take you not just through college, but even through like work. Like even right now, I realize for my work, I have to have a calendar that I follow, but also I have to have like, like this is how I learn about new things, because I've like, I think Mr. Lawson told me to mention this, but this is a finance and tech company that I'm in. I do not know anything about finance. And I had to take exams within the first 3 months of being in this job. That means I had to learn again. And I was like, I thought I'm done with this. But I had to realize that I would watch videos and then I would go and learn, and I would watch videos. And through that, I was able to pass my examinations. How did you figure out what type of learner? Oh, I tried, Patrick. I really tried and failed a lot. I think that through trial and failure, because there were moments I was like, oh, I understood that that was so easy, and then I would go and I would totally forget it. And I think within, because we have multiple exams, I would realize, man, I remember the teacher spoke about this, but I don't quite remember exactly. And then there are other moments that you remember I told you that there was a year that I was just like barely going to class. Like there was 1 month that I was barely going to classes because I was going for conferences all over. And because of missing classes, I was like, oh, but I can like learn. Like I can just go through the books and take notes, and that never worked for me either. And so I think trial and error is the best teacher. And I think once you nail that down, you can succeed in any area of your life. Did you do study abroad? That is such a good question. Victor, really, let me tell you the truth. If I could go back, I would do study abroad any day, every day. Like, please, guys, on this chat, study abroad. Like that, I wasn't able to do because my program is very specific. So the number of classes for engineering, you can't it can't be taught in different places. But if I was able to go back, I had friends who did it and they said it was their best experience the whole of college, because they did a semester abroad, or some of them, or but my advice is, I think I wasn't vigilant enough, because I didn't have the finances. If I'm being honest, I didn't have the finances to pay out of pocket for study abroad. Sometimes there's scholarships, but most of the time it's, you pay out of pocket. And I didn't have the finances to pay out of pocket for that, because I'm like, why would I do that? And I'm being paid for school fees here? Um, but looking back, I would have done it honestly, because the level of exposure that you get when you go to a different country, when it's just you and you're learning, and there's different languages, and you're in a cohort, maybe like 10 to 15 students, and you're navigating the world together through the lens of your major, right? So if it's like maybe some STEM related field, and you're learning, but it's practical, right? You're getting to see how it actually affects the people that you're going to be building and serving. Mind blowing. And then you get to travel. It's a free trip, and you get to de-stress and debug and all these things. And so all I'm saying is, Victor and whoever on this call, if you want to study abroad, I urge you, please study abroad. So yeah, these are really good questions, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah. You can ask also personal questions, so don't be shy. Or how did you personally maximize your failures and get the most of them as you could? Wow, this is a really good question, Paul. So to be honest, my failure, I think I did not know how to deal with failure as well, like early in my life. Like I think coming from Alliance, I never expected to fail. If I'm being honest, like I never expected to fail. And so coming on and like failing, and I'm like, I just didn't know how to pick myself up from it. But I think the best thing is reflecting. I would take, like, guys, I don't know how many of you journal, but I journal so much. Maybe find a way that you can be able to reflect. I do this weekly, and I try reflect, and I see, and I like actually jot down. I'm like, what am like, what have I learned today? What are my failures this week, and what did I learn from them? And actually actively put like action points on how to work or become better. So whether it's something as practical as, oh, I failed in this like test, or maybe something as like, oh, I'm really struggling in this, like put like active steps to actually like help you address your failures and learn from them. Like I'm not even lying, like the best moments in my life and in my college life, the best classes are not the ones that I got A's. They're actually the ones that I got like B minuses. And I think Mr. Lawson will tell you this, like, because he watched me like not do well in some of my ACTs, like, and I think like take it on pretty hard. But I think like for me that was the most revolutionary time because I was able to know through my failures, Paul, I was able to learn how I handle stress, one, how I handle emotions, two, and the final thing is what are my action steps from there on. So if I was you, take a time to reflect, take a time to even maybe like talk to people, like see how am I learning, how am I improving. And let me tell you, when you look 1 year back, you're going to be like, wow, before I couldn't handle this, I couldn't do this, these were my failures, and now they've become actually your strongest assets. And for the final thing about failures, companies and your bosses, my boss literally said word for word, we hired you because we realized that you are someone who knows how to take your failures and make them to become your best assets. So that's all I'm saying is be someone who actually realizes there will be always problems, there will always be challenges, whether it's in coding or whether it's in your life. But I think you have to learn how do I react to them and how can I, work, improve them to make them better. Because failures are always the best teachers.
All
Yeah.
right. I think Titi, thank you so much. I think
Mhm.
we've done the Q&A as part of this already. It has been amazing. I know you have to go back to work, so we won't take too much of your time. If you
Yeah.
have more questions, please send it to our WhatsApp number. Or, of course, you can always try and connect with Tweety
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. And definitely, I'm sure that you want to answer any further questions as well. Those of you who want to send it, I think I'll put the WhatsApp number there. I hope I got it right. You can send it to the AFEX number and definitely make sure it's responded to as well. We'll send you responses on that. Okay, so Treaty, thank you so much for your time. I know you have to go back, so I'm really, 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 really happy that you joined us. I'm excited about the prospect for you and what lies ahead. And we're praying that you kind of move from one height to the next. You know that we always kind of wish you the best and really, really appreciate your time with us. What the next step for those of you who are thinking of joining um, the AFEX program, those who are already here, who want to plan on doing your STEM program and all of that, definitely come to our office if you have any questions or you want to join our application program or SET classes. You can come to Westcom Point. At Westlands, Mahigamaru Avenue. You can come to the 8th floor of Westcom Point and we are there. Our consultants will talk to you and help you through the process, just like we work with Tweety and many other families like that and students like that. So thank you so much for joining our webinar. I hope it has been helpful. So if you have any comments or additions or how we can improve this series, we're going to have more of our students come on to talk to you about different experiences so they can better prepare for the world out there. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Enjoy the week and have a fruitful week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Titi. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.